Hey gang, Will here from the Ashland Fly Shop with a fishing report for you for around mid-July 2018. Well, it was pretty much bound to happen. That wonderful, sweet spring that we had early summer is in the rearview mirror and has given way to our typical warm temps for midsummer and a little reintroduction of some smoke into the valley here. So actually it's not too bad. We got a couple little fires in the area, but smoke's kind of coming and going, so it's really not anything like we've seen in previous years. We do have the heat, so that affects some of our rivers a little bit as far as water temps and things like that, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, very typical time of year, typical setup for us. So let's hop right into what we're seeing around the region. Rogue River and our backyard fishery here out of Ashland. So I've talked a lot about this. The Rogue is in a really unique place in the west as far as a steelhead stream or just a larger river in general, in that the reservoir, Lost Creek Reservoir, is really not a you know, it's not a power generator or anything, and the water in it is there's a lot of water in it for fish that's dedicated to releases for fish. So we're extremely fortunate in that way. So at this time of year, we can really we really have, especially in the upper section that we're closest to, we really have good water conditions, good clean cold water for fish that are moving into it. The lower Rogue and the fish running the gauntlet to get up here, water temps are quite high down there. We were looking at it the other day, and they're definitely in the mid-70s and pushing up there. So fish are just, the steelhead that are coming in are just blasting in the river, and they're just like finding those deep coffee pot holes as they come up the river and hanging out in there. And they're really not hanging out in that river much. They're really moving through the middle river, lower river, and slowing down once they hit the cooler temps, which just happens to be right out the back door here. So we are starting to fish steelhead. It's hard to justify, you know, really getting after it right now with the warm temps. We're really just doing kind of morning runs and evening runs and stuff, and we're finding a few here and there. And concentrations aren't really high like they will be as the fish kind of build up as the summer and fall moves on. We get into our prime time of late summer, fall, and early winter, but we are seeing some fish, and the bonus is this time of year getting a steelhead is just going to be a great fish. It's going to be a phenomenal bright fish, and we are seeing a few of those around. Swinging techniques we love to do, they're working well. We're using light lines, Scandi lines, light small traditional flies. You can also use Skagit tactics, you know, with your little bit smaller patterns. You don't need to fish as deep as you might later on. And then nymphing is always going to work good too. Flows are down. And flows are pretty good. I think they're 1,600 out of the dam or something, or 1,300. And so, you know, through our stretch, that's like 1,500 or so, which is really nice, you know, down through the upper river section. So great conditions for fishing. Just kind of waiting to see a few more fish show up as far as really getting after it. Hard to really get after it all day right now. So that's what we're looking at in the upper Rogue as far as steelhead and just how to approach it. We'll just talk about the holy water quickly. This is a good time of year to be fishing up there. As far as a midsummer fishery, that's close to Ashland. As far as a good trout fishery and some good potential, I would be fishing streamers up there. You might look for a very, very late midge hatch in the evening, something like that, but your streamer fishing is really going to be what's going to carry the day for you and find a fish. I would vary patterns, vary sink tips until you find something that's working. And you know, do some nymphing. Some nymphing can work. It's never been a great tactic for me up there, but people seem to have luck with it here and there. So nymphing and swinging flies up there is going to be a good way to go on the holy water. Stillwater fishing, higher elevation stillwater fishing, yes, that's really a great thing to do. So going up to Diamond Lake, which is a really outstanding fishery that's, you know, fairly close by, within a couple hours of here. That's a lot of people spending time up there. Klamath Lake can kind of be off and on. The Rocky Point area can be pretty good with the different springs that are in that area with the fish hanging out in the cool water. That's a pretty good bet. Get your boots on and get to some of the higher lakes, higher elevation. That's a really good bet, you know, hiking through the Trinity Alps or the Marble Mountains or, you know, the Rogue River Wilderness up in there. That can all be pretty good fishing up there. Those lakes should be really, really good right now, the lakes that have fish in them. So doing some hiking, getting some higher elevation still water fishing, higher elevation small creeks, things like that, that can be a lot of fun now and a good way to beat the heat. Williamson River in the Klamath Basin is also one of the most, definitely one of the most consistent midsummer fisheries that we have. It's a little complex if you know it. It's not really much of a walk-in river, but if you have a craft or you want to get in a boat with a guide or something, it's a really good bet. The upper stretch, you know, above Chiloquin, is a good place to kayak through and stuff and maybe poke around and fish a little bit there, as you can't fish from a boat up there. But the lower section from Chiloquin down, you can fish from a craft, and it's a good way to target fish in some of those trickier spots. But really outstanding fishery. We're seeing some great fish come out, very consistent. Like I said, so those lake run fish come out of the Klamath Lake, Agency Lake, some really nice big red bands. A lot of those nice big kind of weird looking fish you see popping up on social media probably come out of that section, because there's some really nice big fish that we see there. So that's a good bet, as it typically is this time of year. Hexagania hatch is pretty popular. It's kind of comes and goes. It's been happening for about a week or so now. I haven't had anyone come in with like big giant wide eyes about it, but it is a good, it is a kind of a unique thing to do at this time of year, that Hexagania hatch. So that's something to look for. The Williamson Klamath Basin, that's a good bet for this time of year. Looking to get waist deep and maybe kind of accidentally slip and fall in a trout stream this time of year, you want to go to Northern California to cool off and wet wade, and it's just an awesome place to be. We got to start thinking about water temps down there. You know, the midsection of the upper Sacramento, the lower section, those water temps are going to be creeping up. A good bet the water's too warm, beside taking temperature, is just crappy fishing. You know, the fish really get, you know, they really hunker down and they just really stop feeding and stuff at those higher water temps when you get into the 60-degree range and stuff like that. So get yourself a thermometer. Start taking water temps for some of these trout streams this time of year when we get these high water temps. Upper Sacramento around Mount Shasta, typically that's pretty good all through this time of year. We can see some late hatches there, so that's a good bet. McCloud River, lots of shade. That river tends to really hold up well in this. Although, you know, midsummer, it's just a real nymphing game, so just be prepared for that. You know, we don't see too many hatches. You might see some really late evening PMD, dry fly, stuff like that, but, you know, not going to see a lot of hatches on any of these streams. It's going to really become a nymphing game. Get your check nymphing, high stick nymph skills together and go check it out. But the McCloud River is a good bet for this midsummer time of year. And continuing over, Fall River is a good bet. A lot like the Williamson, it's a big spring creek, so it's hard to have access without a craft, but it is nice, cool water all through the summer and does produce some decent hatches and some really nice fish. Hat Creek also, it's not really known as a midsummer fishery, but you will find good water conditions, and there are some nice fish in there if you're looking to poke around in there. So all those Mount Shasta streams are a good bet for sure. You just got to start adjusting your tactics for kind of midsummer, and that's typically nymphing and smaller. You know, I usually fish like a larger point fly and then a really small, anything from a, you know, a 16 to a 20 dropper fly, and that can work really well. But it's a great place to wet wade and cool off. The North Umpqua River, we just talked to a lot. Been going, and they're talking about unless and some fish and conditions are really kind of. But we do hear that And then at times, but a good place to cool off and just, and you'll be up there and some other folks, and we do see the downstream on the, so anyway, that's what we're hearing about the north. So that's our story for mid-July, state of Jefferson, and kind of what we're seeing around here. Please call if you're traveling to the area, you want an update, or you're looking for a guide or something like that. We're happy to help, put you in the right spot here, and we certainly appreciate you tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.